Hi, Nicola. I'm going to go over my learning experience plan and the new materials that I think would be a good idea to add to the classroom to build on the children's interest and the interest that I pulled out of the learning story myself. So the interest that I thought was very obvious and was what I wanted to build my experience on was the fact that the children seemed to be very interested in wanting to care for a creature. In this case, they were caring for their friend Ben, who was pretending to be a dinosaur egg and who later hatched, and they then took care of the dinosaur baby. So I thought that the kids really wanted to care for something, and I thought that to build on that, I could introduce new materials such as dinosaur stuffed animals. So if they wanted to pretend to care for something that wasn't another one of their friends, they could have the option of doing that. And also, multiple children could have the ability to do it as well if some kids didn't want to dress up as a dinosaur or pretend to be a dinosaur, or if they didn't want to play with the other children and they wanted to engage in solitary play, then they had that option because they can use the dinosaur stuffed animals. So here is one that we could add to the classroom, and another that we could add to the classroom. Now, I also thought to build off of that, not all children are necessarily interested in dinosaurs. It's a common interest in children, of course, but it's not for everyone, and we have to make sure that this activity is good for all of the children's interests and not just catering to a certain one. So I also thought we could introduce different types of animals, in this case a sheep. But yeah, we could introduce different stuffed animals that are different animals so that they have their options. They can choose from the various creatures that they want to care for. One more thing that I wanted to introduce to the classroom as a new material that might not already exist in the play area is a plastic egg, or multiple plastic eggs. It could be this kind or it could be the smaller kind. And the reason I wanted to introduce that was because the children in the learning story really enjoyed engaging in the original idea of hatching the egg, putting the blankets on the egg, making sure it was dark but not too dark for the egg, and then caring for the egg after it hatched. So I thought, again, along the lines of if a child wants to engage in solitary play, or if they just want to have the option of not having to use one of their fellow classmates as the egg or the baby dinosaur, then they have the option of using an actual egg to do this. So some materials that I would think would already exist in the classroom would be baby dolls, so they could have the option of doing this activity or playing this game, but with actual baby dolls, so they could pretend that they're taking care of their babies, that sort of thing, which I know is very common among children. And this would probably exist already in the house area. Pillows for their babies, blankets for their babies, perhaps a doll cradle that could already exist in the home area, that sort of thing. So I'm going to make these materials available to the children during free play. I will introduce them to the pretend play area and the home area, and I'll make sure that the children who were involved in the original dinosaur egg hatching activity know about it, as well as any other children who might be interested in it as well. In consideration of the children's belonging, one of the 4 foundations, adding these props will allow them to engage in various types of play. They could engage in cooperative, associative, parallel, or games with rules. They'll be able to share their ideas with each other and engage, if they wanted to, in a larger game that included all of them, as many children as wanted to join in. Or, like I said before, they could just play by themselves doing solitary play. In consideration of the children's well-being, all materials added to the pretend play and house areas will be safe for use by young children, no choking hazards, nothing like that. The stuffed animals are small, they don't have pieces on them that could fall off and cause a choking hazard. The eyes, as opposed to using stuffed animals that have eyes that are beads, it could be just eyes that are stitched on, that sort of type, so it's definitely safer for their well-being and their safety. For the children's engagement, adding these props to their range of items to play with will supply them with the proper materials they need to fully explore the world around them and develop skills such as problem solving or creative thinking. So the children in the learning story knew they needed to give the dinosaur lots of love and attention after he hatched, and they did that. So this type of activity will definitely encourage that in the children, and it'll show them that they definitely do need to have that sort of expression and engagement and the problem solving, that sort of thing. And I think it will also teach them, if some children, by example, have maybe pets at home already that they like to take care of, it'll be able to incorporate that into their play, or children who want to have pets in the future, that it can teach them that sort of responsibility that they do need to have. In consideration of the children's expression, being able to play side by side with their peers, as well as share their thoughts and ideas, will support their expression. In order to provoke their exploration and learning, I always want to ask open-ended questions. I don't want to ask questions that they can give me an easy yes or no answer to. I want to make them think about what they're doing and explain their play to me. And yeah, I want to encourage their work and compliment it. I want to make sure that I'm always pointing out things that I really like that they did, or something they did a really good job on, because I want them to have a sense of pride in themselves, and I need to show them what that's like. So that could also mean just recording or taking pictures and putting them up all over the classroom, or just simply saying, I think you did a really good job. That's awesome. I will also always offer my involvement in their play. Some children would rather not play with the teacher. Some children would rather play by themselves, and that's fine. But the offer will always stand. And I also, to support children with varying needs and abilities, I also want to be the buffer between that child and the other children if there needs to be one. So if there's a child who I notice is maybe lingering on the side and is showing interest, but maybe a little too nervous or too shy to go and initiate play by themselves, I would like to just be that person to help them and introduce them to the activity and get them comfortable so that they can as well participate with the other children. And I will know the children are finished when they begin to tidy up or show signs of losing interest in the materials, or if I see them moving on to new stations. And I will facilitate the children's transitions to other activities by asking them a lot of open-ended questions about the activity they just did. If I notice they're finished with the activity, I will gently remind them that they do need to clean up after themselves, teach them that sort of responsibility that they need to have. And then I'll also ask them, if I notice that they're interested in engaging in more pretend play, or a different kind of pretend play, I can ask them how they think they could maybe incorporate their dinosaur babies, or whichever babies, their eggs, or whatever they just worked on in their next activity. So that is my learning story and my plan. So thank you for listening.